So I only thought I was a terrible person for a moment. And then I realized that like the cancer people were in on the joke. So like it's all good. I'm right in line with them. I'm right in step, you know?
Damn. Burned through all the cold opens yesterday.
We did. I got to apologize for that. But it was the right call. You know, we talked about this the week before, like doing too much. And like, remember I said like my body would just shut down twice a semester in college? I was like dangerously close to that line yesterday. And
just like a robot who ran out of charge.
Well, you know what? We recorded this episode where we're talking about like, hey, maybe sometimes you're doing too much. And at the same time, I'm in the middle of doing too much. And there's another thing that comes into play that I thought about yesterday too. Like, you know, I went out to this judo tournament. I absolutely kicked butt. Like I really felt great about it. But there's like when you accomplish something, like when you win an award, when you finish a project, George R. R. Martin, when you do any of the there's a level of like there's a come down, right? Like there's a downward slope of energy that comes off of that, right? Like the falling action of completing something oftentimes can leave you in, I don't want to say like a negative emotional state, but in an emotional deficit because you've just ridden so high.
That's a good way of putting it.
Right? Yeah. So I was like, so I came off of that. I'm in an emotional deficit. But then at the same exact time, these other two things are building up, right? Like this Live to Serve trip is building up. The show is ramping up. We're in our final 3 weeks of rehearsal before we're just on stage in front of people. And so I'm in an emotional deficit, and then you and I record, and that felt good. But then I'm trying to then rise back into meet the emotion of everything else that's going on, right? Yeah, like Creed, can you take me higher? And
can
like
you take me higher?
But like so then I'm trying to do that all week, but I got no time in between. So there was no time to process any of it. Like, because then Monday I got promoted in my belt, but that meant going to my normal, like, you know, jiu-jitsu, judo. And then Tuesday through Thursday was nothing but work and play rehearsal. And then all of a sudden it's Friday and I'm like, okay, well, let's just like do everything that we can, make it through the day the best that we can. I had like a really big meeting on Friday, and I just kept moving through these bigger emotions while I'm still, I think, not having enough time to process an emotional deficit. So Saturday comes around, and you and I are sitting here, and dude, we recorded for 30 minutes, and then I was just like, I can't. I'm sorry, man. It was like a podcast impotence, you know?
But
like
you know
I was
what?
just like,
I was
like, sorry,
feeling the
Odie, I can't get it up this week. I can't do it.
Oh my god! Give you some podcast Viagra, some Piagra.
Sorry, Odie.
Make your microphone hard.
I need that new what's the thing that they're advertising all the time? Oh god. I don't know.
The horse tranquilizer pill thingies. That
let's do those.
Yeah. For the podcast. I mean, honestly though, like it was a good thing because I didn't want to record
to talk to
yesterday.
me.
Like,
You didn't want to talk to me.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk to you.
And so it was a really
damn it.
I could tell. That's why it was so hard, Odie. See, our chemistry just wasn't working.
Okay,
I got
that's
on,
not true.
I was all pumped, and
That's
and
not
you
even
know,
close.
like I'm in this mix
False-
of emotions. And
false
you just,
information,
you
everyone.
weren't there ready to meet me. You know, this is an intimate experience for us.
I
and
went on
I
a
want you to take some
wonderful rabbit
ownership
hole
over
of
my
fun
podcast
holidays.
impotence.
I can't do this.
Happy St. Patty's Day. Happy St. Patty's Day.
What the
Happy
fuck?
St. Patty's Day.
What is happening?
Happy St. Patty's Day. Hey, Odie.
I can't
Cue
even
the
finish
music.
my thought.
Cue the music.
Oh, okay. It's bagpipes. Right? That's St. Patty's Day.
I love bagpipes.
Oh, wait. Hang on. I can do it. Oh, shit. Wait, no.
That's banjo.
Irish music. Dropkick Murphys. Take the ship and be off to Boston. Fuck, I don't know any Irish music.
Wow. Racist.
And I've been to Ireland.
That's where we're starting this podcast. You're racist.
No, I like Ireland. I've been there. I've had traditional Irish breakfast.
You have not
I've
committed
been
any
there.
of their
I've been to
music
Dublin
memory.
Castle. They
And
told me they hate the English. No, they told me they hate the English. I've been there. I've been to Ireland.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. All right, cool. Real music. Let's go.
I have been there though.
Are you ready to clap?
Yes, I'm ready to clap.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of the Unpop Podcast. I am Kevin Miner, he, him, the captain, el capitan, todo siempre, all the effing time. With me as always is
Odie Matthews, the chef who is definitely not racist, cooking up content, they, them.
What
So
kind
put
of
that out there.
spices? What kind of spices are going into your content this week, Mr. Not Racist?
I have my Chinese five
all
spice.
spices specifically Chinese.
I have my
Pick another.
Korean gochujang.
I don't know if you know this, but we have a bad relationship with China, and if you don't sell off that allspice, you're gonna get banned.
Oh crap! Damn, that sucks. I'm not going to though.
Let's jump right into it with the TikTok ban. How you feeling about that? Does that ruin your revenue stream, content creator?
Yeah. You know, it's okay. So I do want to talk about this because I find it really funny. I made a TikTok talking about
the government,
the TikTok ban, right? I was talking about the TikTok ban, and all it was just me being like, isn't it funny that we have all these issues in America, like, you know, not affordable health care, we don't have living wages, the housing crisis, you know, yada, yada. I named like 4 or 5 issues. There's a lot of issues, but I named like 4 or 5 of them. And then I was like, but what everybody seems to be able to agree on, if you're, you know, a politician holding an elected position.
A person who engages in politics, yes.
Yes, is that basically they all agree that TikTok should be banned, right?
Yeah.
Whether they all vote yes or not, they have all collectively at one point or another agreed that TikTok ban is a good idea, which is funny because then, I just want to say this, the comments on that video, for one, it got 2.1 million views, which is, I'm not a TikTok creator. I just want to put that out there. So that was really interesting to see what it's like.
2.1 million views.
I guess I'm famous. But what's funny about that is I was reading some of the comments periodically, because I would literally like clear out my comments and then within 2 seconds they would be full again. Because, you know, I mean, that's a lot of stuff coming in.
Yeah.
But one of the comments that really stuck out to me that I think is so funny and it's still, I'm still laughing, was somebody commented and they were like, they said, boo-hoo, I guess this means you have to get a real job since you can't rely on the internet to make money. And what's funny about that, the look on your face.
Do you not know Jeff Bezos?
But also,
have you not heard of this man?
Do you know who Mark Zuckerberg
uses
is?
the internet to make money?
Well,
have you heard of Mark Zuckerberg?
What's funny about that is obviously that person clearly thought that I was a content creator on TikTok, which I am not. I want to put that out there. This was the one and only video I've ever had.
You have a YouTube channel and 2 million views on TikTok. You're in, baby. There's no 2 ways out of this one. You can't. You're in. You're a content creator now. It's part of our intro. How can you deny this?
Yeah, that's
true. If this was a court of law, I would be like, Chef Odie, you are what? And you would go cooking up content. I'd be like, I rest my fucking case.
Oh, God, you're right.
I rest my case.
Oh, God. Oh, no, I told on myself. But
case
what's
closed.
Funny...
I sentence you to a life of cooking content.
Are you a judge now?
Yes.
But
I don't think judges say case closed. Do they say case closed?
I don't know.
That would suck.
I've never been to court.
I feel like a judge saying case closed is like the ultimate insult. If you're the defendant and you lose, like they're like case closed. Like it's like, wow, what side were you on from the get-go? Reveal that a little more.
Oh, God.
Definitely. I'll see you in appellate court. Oh, no, wait. That's a different judge. Sorry. Never mind.
Different judge. But no, what's funny about it is...
I'm requesting you for appellate court. Yo, that would be... All right, sorry. I'm about to lose my mind and go off on a tangent about what people could request judges for appellate courts. The same way that you can challenge people for belts in, like, UFC.
Oh, my God. I want these 2 judges to fight.
I challenge Judge Herwig to an appellate court decision on May 18th, 2025. I'll see you there if I don't get electrocuted before then because I live in Texas. Anyway, keep going.
Okay. But anyways, what was funny about it is there was a few comments that were basically like saying that I was upset because I used TikTok to make money, which just isn't true. Like if you look at my profile, like it is very obvious this is the one and only video I've had that has done, you know, this well.
This is your first big content creation. Yes.
And look, and I've said this to you, and I was talking to Goose because they thought it was funny because they know what's going to happen. This is the second time I've had a video pop off on TikTok.
Yeah.
But what happens is is I make content when I'm frustrated about politics, like I did. One of them inevitably does pretty well. Never this well, but they do pretty well. And then I make maybe 5 more TikToks after that. And then I go, oh, yeah, this is boring. And then I delete everything on my TikTok page, and then I just stop making content.
That's dumb. You should not do that this time.
Oh, maybe not.
Look, here's the thing. I'm going to ride your coattails into a brand hood of, success, right? It's going to be, we're going to be these two progressive peoples, right? Like, oh, hey, did you hear about, like, those people that are hosting that, right? Like, we're pretty progressive, right?
I mean, I would say
so what's going to happen is you're going to come out there. So you're going to come out there with the progressive opinions, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start up a fake TikTok, and I'm going to do nothing but like evangelical right wing propaganda.
Oh, the opposite.
And then we're going to come together on this show, and they're going to be like, I don't think either of those people understand what the other one's doing most of the week. Like, I'm just going to be sitting in my car and be like, Yep, that's how they start, right? That's how they. It's always something. Have you ever realized Have you ever realized that like rednecks film from the chin up? Like, have you I held the mic down to do that. Rednecks film from the chin up. Like they get this like weird angle of like you looking up at them like there's some fat version of the Abraham Lincoln statue, right?
Yeah.
Like, just fucking.
Yeah.
I'm in my truck again. Yep.
Yeah, they all film in trucks. It's weird.
I'm in my truck again. I know I'm definitely not out of debt, and my credit score isn't above 600, but I'll tell you what, I got some economic and political advice for you. Like, that's fucking...
Yeah.
That's how I feel every time. I'm like,
Not
you
really,
don't look like the person I would take advice from anytime. Like, I don't
want to talk to you.
Not only that, you're a little too aggressive, sir. Like,
but...
Go on. Yeah.
Anyways, right.
I was about to. Oh man, I'm full of tangents now.
We're never gonna get into any of these topics because we have a million tangents.
We're gonna get into the topics and tangents. That's our motto. We're in the hole with topics and tangents.
Topics and tangents. We're gonna make a new social media app called Topics and Tangents.
Topics and Tangents.
Where either you talk about something topical or you start to talk about something topical, then you go on a tangent, and that's all the content.
Someone's gonna read that and go, "That's just a conversation, guys. That's just all. That's all you're doing."
Yeah.
All right. So your video blows up on TikTok.
Right. So
and
anyway,
then
some of the
TikTok's like, whoa. You see what this Odie Matthews is doing? Shut it down. That's what happens.
But it's funny because like now and obviously the whole TikTok ban, like there's a lot that goes into it. We could talk about the more like deeper elements of like the political side. Like we've even talked on the phone about our thinking and why we think that part of this might be coming, why they're forcing it to sell.
I want you to delve into it, and then I will present my perspective, having like, because I've been paying attention to this for a while, because as you know,
it's been on the works for a while.
As you know, I'm reluctantly on TikTok now.
I love it.
I was reluctant to be on TikTok for years. I do not like it.
Part of it.
I am not enjoying the experience. You know this about me, but I'm there because my friends are there, right? This is me supporting y'all and y'all.
You're our emotional support TikTok friend.
So you do me this favor. You break it down, and then I'm gonna like if I feel like you've missed any like crucial details from the attention that I've paid to this, because really for me, I'm paying attention to the bigger issue. Like the ban on TikTok might be the headline, but I'm like, okay, there's other things at play here that obviously matter if you look at it from a political and economic lens.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, I mean, you're spot on, because now sorry, I'm adjusting my chair. I'll make sure to cut that audio out.
The first ban was proposed in 2019, I want to say, or was it 2020?
So it's okay. There's a couple things.
Was it Trump in 2020?
It was Trump's presidency that originally was going to ban it, and he was on board.
Because he didn't like it.
Yeah, but what's funny about that is now he's swapped and he is in favor of keeping it because
people are speaking out against Biden on it. Like he's very like see-through.
Okay, well here I'm gonna get real political for a second.
Whoa! First time on the podcast. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna play some political fanfare. Whatever it is, political music there. All right, cool. I have to make a note to myself.
Trump has made it very clear that he is okay with allying with countries and people and leaderships and governments that our allies do not want to be aligned with. He has been a vocal supporter of Putin.
Kim Jong.
He has
Putin.
Kim Jong. He said that he could end the war in Ukraine with Putin. He has, he has put tariffs on China, but realistically, like, China is in with Russia and China is in with Brazil and India, and we all know that Trump has ties with all of those, and he has ties with China, and I think it has something to do with things that have come into play since his trials that probably have resulted in now, if TikTok stays around, he's got some kind of cut of the pie. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But it's because he's a wishy-washy piece of shit, and that's my full opinion on Trump. And before anybody even remotely says, whoa, Biden, Biden sucks too. All right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to say it. Trump sucks, but Biden sucks too.
That's not a good argument to take. Like, when I have friends, like, I have really good friends who are like, they're Blue Lives Matter people, and, and obviously, Odie, I go on mission trips, so I'm with people who are properly evangelical in their faith. Like, I'm around all types of people, right? And it's not just it's not just that. Like, that I would definitely say those are mostly my white friends, right? but not like. So I'm around some people who are like that, but then I'm around like people who are. I have a rainbow rainbow spectrum of friends.
Everybody,
but like ultimately, bringing up Biden, blah 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 blah, is not a good argument with someone like yourself, myself, or I would say any progressive Democrat who's paying attention. And the only reason I even consider myself, like, here's the thing: if the Democratic Party was eschewed far enough, and like I didn't think that their values aligned with mine, I'd just be like, I'm not a Democrat anymore. It's not a wishy-washy thing. It's just like, okay, you've gone too far. There's a tipping point. Like, you're allowed to have a scale
leftist
that you go off of. I'm not even. I wouldn't even call myself a leftist. Like, I'm kind of a centrist. Like, I'm like socially progressive, economically conservative, like, which is sometimes those two things conflict. And you and I have talked about this before. I believe that there's an inherent threshold of hypocrisy. Like, if you state a value about yourself and you live long enough, you will eventually reach the threshold that you have to cross that makes you a hypocrite if you want to continue upholding that value, right? Like,
totally.
Like, best example I can have is like, thou shalt not steal. But then you end up in a point in your life where you're absolutely starving and like you have no food around you. Like, it's the lowest you've ever been. And there's like someone has left some food unattended that's meant for other people who are purchasing it. And you're like, well, I need to survive, right? You cross that. And although you uphold the value, thou shalt not steal, you become a hypocrite. And that's not a failure on you as a human. It's just a natural part of being a human. And that's why I like having that term. But like, so socially progressive, like I'm definitely socially progressive. I think that's obvious. But then economically conservative. Like I definitely feel like sometimes we stretch ourselves too thin in what is recognized as global capitalism, and like maybe we should rein things in a little bit more, and maybe not be such an import country. But like. And that's all those things. There's so many different areas that you can touch on.
Oh my God, we could go on and on about this.
Yeah, but so getting back into like the
TikTok part, I didn't even go into my explanation. I got on my tangent about Trump.
It's totally fine. It's hard to not have a tangent about that man because he's so prolific. I would go to say notorious, right? Like he's notorious, like. Notoriously bad, notoriously a liar, notoriously a failure at business, notoriously supported by people who somehow deny these things about him. Keep going.
Even though he's got so much debt. Anyways, yes, we've talked about doing political, like mini political episodes, so I'll save all my thoughts for that when we do that. But the TikTok ban, bringing it back. There's a couple things that I personally think about when it comes to it. And these are just my opinions. I've been keeping up with it a little bit in the actual sense of like reading, real political articles and like news articles about what's going on and what is inside of the bill. And I understand the bill. I'll be honest. I understand the bill on a surface level. I didn't dive too deep into it. Okay. I get what's going on there, but I think there is one thing that I think really stands out to me as to why this has become such a problem in our government's eyes, and another one of something that I think they're totally overlooking. Yeah. And for me, what I think it is, and people might disagree, but TikTok is the first app that we have had in America, at least, that yes, we've had Facebook and we've had Snapchat and we've had Instagram and we've had Musical.ly and we've had Vine. We've had all these other...
Don't forget Planet Cancer. Don't forget Planet Cancer.
And Planet Cancer and MySpace.
Yeah.
Can't forget MySpace.
Which was its own type of Planet Cancer.
Yeah. Did you know that Justin Timberlake owned part of MySpace for a little bit?
Yeah, they relaunched it and it was sick, but nobody got on.
Anyway, so the thing about TikTok that is so incredible is, for one, obviously it's worldwide, but it's one of the first times that I feel like American people have been able to get on there, and whether it be funny, stupid skits or recipes or talking about trauma or whatever it might be, one thing that has been very prevalent on the app is creators talking about political problems, bringing political problems to light. And yes, there is a ton of misinformation on TikTok, and there are a ton of crazy people on TikTok that, are like far right-wing extremists.
And there are also... There's misinformation on social media. You do have to do your own research and make sure you double-check the sites that you're checking if you're going on the internet to do it. Yes, got it.
Exactly.
There's always a bias. Let's put it that way. Yeah, because always a bias.
And they come from the far right, and they come from the far left. Like, I'm not gonna say that the far left is also just as bad. Like, when you go too far on any side, you become a crazy person.
Yes.
Just saying.
Yes.
So, yes, I understand that there is misinformation out there, but I will say that there's also been a really good opportunity for a lot of real information to get passed around. Like, some people kind of get... Like, there's a couple creators on TikTok that I personally love. One of them, his name is Good Trouble. He used to be a professional cyclist, and he makes political content. Another one is, I forget his name, but he's got T in his name. Doesn't matter. These people get the Jolly Green Tea Ginger. That's his name.
The Jolly Green Tea Ginger. Got it. Cool.
Yeah. And these guys get on there and they talk about, and these guys are going to be a little bit more on the left, but they talk about the crazy things that Trump says and does, or they talk about the things that Fox News gets on there and all the crazy things they say.
Yes.
And I feel like this is the first time ever in American history where the American people have a source of information in a way to very freely and quickly pass along their thoughts and opinions, and also citing, hopefully, right sources to pass this information along to other people.
Yes.
And I think what I think is I really believe the government doesn't like the fact that we have a way to get on here and be like, hey, did you see that Biden just said that he's okay with the genocide in Israel? Hey, did you just see that Trump said there's going to be a bloodbath if he's not reelected president?
Yeah.
And people on both sides of those political spectrums are like, well, now if the American people can know everything that we're doing and they can spread that news quicker than the newspaper used to be able to print it, then, and let's be honest, like, people under the age of, and I mean, there's tons of people on TikTok that are older than this, so I'm not saying like Gen X and boomers aren't on there, but I would say like from ages, teenagers up until like your age, like, like mid to late 30s, like a lot of us use... I'm not there yet. I'm not mid-30s yet.
Whatever.
But
this is funny.
But like, I think that like we don't go to Yahoo News. We don't go to Google News. Like, I mean, I look at my news app, but that's just because I have it tailored for things that I'm interested in. It gives me movie news, it gives me political news, and it gives me recipes. But a majority of us aren't reading the newspaper. We're not, we're not on Bing looking up what happened in the news today. And I just think that like the way that information has been passed since TikTok has come around, whether it be a good thing or a bad thing, however you want to look at it, I think that scares them to some extent. And I think that's good. I think it's good that it does.
No, I agree. Couple things that you
I'll do my second part. I'll do my second part later. I'm going to let you we'll marinate on this first part, and then I'll bring up my second part in a minute.
Couple things that you touched on that I think are around the TikTok ban that are important. So this ban, let me paint this because I've been paying attention to it. Because at first, like when the ban first came up, I was like, ha, 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 ha. Yeah, of course. And I looked into it, and sure enough, ByteDance is owned by a Chinese company, right? They're connected to the CCP. They're collecting data on people. This has been proven. Like, even the investigative journalist who is looking into this got spied on, like, in what we would consider an unreasonable way. Now, that being said, you're being spied on all the time. Your data is worth more than oil at this point. Yeah. Like
Facebook does it. Everybody does it.
This is part of what. Yes, this happens so prolifically now that there is a term for it. It's called surveillance capitalism. And that's what happens. We talk about the algorithm. But this is what happens. So like, you're getting spied on, things get suggested to you. It's, it is the microphone in your phone. Like, that is happening, right? Like, you mention a thing, you're around somebody who's talking about a thing or searching a thing, and like geocaching happens, and your phone hears it, and it's like, oh yeah, cool, you were talking about those shoes. Here's those shoes. Yeah, here's the ad for the thing that you were talking about. Oh, were you talking about getting in shape? Here's an ad for your local gym. But that. So that's part of marketing at this point in capitalism, and it's called surveillance capitalism, and it just exists, and there's no regulation for it in I would say, a meaningful sense yet. We haven't even started to regulate that. Now, on top of that, the other thing that does need to be regulated is how companies use the algorithm to keep people locked into their apps. So YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, like all of the social media websites, now that they're locked into this and they realize that they keep feeding you the thing that you're interested in, that you're going to stay on, that's also we haven't even approached properly regulating that yet. Or even just getting rid of it and making people actually like do the work again, which social media companies would definitely not want. But like ultimately, you say like there's these people who are like far left and far right who are on there. And I think what ends up happening is you're looking up, you're interacting with videos from Odie Matthews, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you liked that one about the government. Well, here's another one. And this person's slightly more progressive. And then you're like, oh, I'm interacting with that one. And then they're like, okay, cool. Yeah, here's 15 more. And they're all about the same thing. And some of them are going to be more extreme. And if you are already interacting with that, you're priming yourself, right? Priming being you're setting yourself up emotionally and psychologically to follow that breadcrumb trail. And the reason that I highlight like moving further and further to the left first is because there are a lot of reactionary opinions on the left that mirror opinions on the right, right? Like when it comes like if you see a picture of a gun, typically you're going to pick a side of that debate, right? Like in your mind already, we've just been primed to do it. And then whichever side you interact with, the platform that you're on is going to feed you things that are similar to the thing that you're interacting with, right? So then all of a sudden you're leaning further right, you're leaning further left without actually really sitting down and thinking for yourself and formulating opinion and having a real human conversation. You're just interacting by pressing buttons, right? So it's a little bit of Idiocracy too. Remember that movie where you just press the symbols and it feeds you everything that you So like as these things are becoming more and more prevalent and they're swaying people's opinions one way or the other, I don't think we need to talk about banning. I think we need to talk about regulation. The same way that we talk about regulation for anything that presents, a clear, I don't want to say clear and present fucking danger. What the
clear
fuck
and present danger?
No, but a clear danger that's down
present.
The road. Like if we're looking at it, right? Yeah, it is present. Like when we're looking at it, that is a danger down the road. And so when the first TikTok ban came out, I was like, haha, of course, because they're spying on you. And like I've never really liked it that much anyway. I liked Vine when it was out, but I think as Vine kept going, I probably would have liked it less, and TikTok is just Vine 2.0, really. It like if you break it, I'm being, rudimentary with it, but it is just Vine 2.0. It's the same thing. You're swiping and you're watching videos and they're short and every third one's an ad. So, like, when the first ban came out, I was like, okay, well, yeah, I'm down for that. I don't want the CCP having Americans' data, and most people aren't paying attention to that anyway. They don't care about that part. They just care about having a little entertainment on their device. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm down with that. And then ByteDance was like, no, here's our new measures. We're putting these in place. And whether or not they did, like, I'll let you form your own opinion. I would like to believe that, like, they have a vested interest in making more money. So they're like, instead of getting banned, here's our security measures. But then the government comes back this year and they go, all right, if you don't sell it, then we're banning it. Right? So
in
like
America.
Now they've given them the ultimatum that I think they really wanted from the get-go, which was to get them out of China. Right? To stop them from generating more revenue for that country and to sell to an American buyer over here so that the American version of TikTok is run by an American, right? Like, and getting them
terrible.
More entrenched in our economic system. It's global politics. And like, all I'll say about it is like, bad play. But
yeah, strongholding somebody in to sell so that your country can then own it is just like, and I understand like China's not great. Like, hot take there. But like,
yeah, but we're not that much better.
Like, so, what if someone like Elon Musk buys it? Then we're fucked.
Yeah. I mean, and another thing just came, we're not much better than China. We're just doing it differently. Like I don't know if you've heard, but so part of surveillance capitalism, people's insurance rates have been going up because they have their cars that are connected to like GPS, the internet, all these things like LexisNexis and stuff like that. And then when they're driving, their cars capturing data based on their trips and then sending it to their insurance company. And a lot of them are being turned on without these people agreeing to it. So then all of a sudden they get an insurance bill that's like 20% higher, and they're like, where the fuck did this come from? And then they request the report that their car has sent out, right? And they look at it, and there's all of this stuff on there that, like, there's even one of the reporters for the New York Times, like, put out that, like, revealed that, like, her email that was, or no, it was NPR, I think. Her email that was associated with her, like, sister's middle school email was on there. It's, like, just crazy, crazy shit. And all of this stuff is being compiled on our side. Over in China, they're just overt about it. They're like, we have cameras everywhere. Behave your fucking selves. Over here, we're like, yeah, we're going to raise your insurance rates. Just secretly behind your back. Like, we've been watching you this entire time and just gathering data. So, like, we're not that much better than China as far as data collection goes. Like, I feel pretty confident in saying that.
That actually brings me to my other point that
hit me with it then.
So this is kind of like a two-part point, but you've said it already. Like, the thing about this TikTok ban, selling, whatever you want to call it, is they, like, the whole basis for this is, like, they're gathering data, right? And they're giving it to the Chinese. Like, the Chinese are taking the data and they're using it, and they're going to use it against us.
And there was a report, apparently, that was presented that shifted this decision from being more partisan, like it was in the past, to being bipartisan. So, like, there was some sort of a briefing where there's information that we're not privy to that was presented to the people who voted on this, right? Because this is how our government runs. We have those people. We elect them so that they can vote on these things. And that shifted opinions enough that this was relatively unanimous. Like, there weren't a lot of people against this move to either ban or have them sell. So, keep going.
And with that, though, it opens up to me the question of, well, and you kind of already said it. Yes, like, obviously Meta and now Twitter, formerly known as X, formerly known as Twitter. Like, these are all...
let's just never stop calling it Twitter. Let's wait till he sells it, and it'll be Twitter again.
Yeah, until it falls apart and burns. Yeah. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, these are all companies that, to my knowledge, are, I mean, Elon Musk isn't American, but he is now, basically. I mean, he lives in America. SpaceX is in America. Yeah. These are all companies that, the data is going back into the American system. But to me, that opens up the question of, okay, well, you have people on TikTok that have vocally said, hey, like, my livelihood is through this app because, and whether you believe in being a content creator or if you believe it's a job or not, if you've ever flipped on YouTube or you've ever scrolled TikTok and there is a creator on there that you're like, wow, I really like watching their videos, then you are supporting that as a career. Because I personally believe that if somebody like Danny Gonzalez or The Weekly Planet or Mr. Sunday Movies, who is from The Weekly Planet, like, if you enjoy their content and they make it full time, that is no different than a writer, director, and actor that makes a show that then pops up on Hulu that you end up watching. I mean, a living is a living. And some of these creators on TikTok, they have based their entire revenue, their entire, being able to provide for themselves, for their family, off of the content that they make specifically for TikTok, because TikTok is a place where some of these creators can do 15 second, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, sometimes even 10 minutes. And unlike a platform like YouTube where you have to, type in Morbius review and then you get a bunch of different, selections, TikTok, as you're swiping, people that you follow and you subscribe to will pop up periodically in your feed, and that's how these people get their views. It's very different than how, like, YouTube and Instagram is set up. And my point is, I find it really interesting and funny that the House even acknowledged that there was people online on the app, out front saying that like, hey, if you take this away from me and you change, even if it does sell, and I saw this from a couple creators that were like, even if it does sell and it becomes an American company or another country buys it, what happens to the creator fund? Am I still going to be able to earn money? Because the creator fund is obviously ran through the company that owns it now. So the fact that the House was like, oh no, like we know that there are a lot of Americans out there that are struggling to make a living and that some of you use this app to make a living. We don't care. And that's basically what they said.
Yeah.
And it goes back to my point when I made a video about the TikTok ban before the vote even happened, that, if this, not that it's a surprise, here's another hot take that I'm sure is not very hot, but like the government already has shown that they don't care about livable wages, affordable housing, like any of this stuff that actually makes it easier on us as the American citizen. And now they're like, well, now we're just going to take a stream of entertainment and revenue for most of you away.
Yeah.
So, and it's just the only thing that comes to mind is just gross. Like it literally, it's just icky.
Yeah.
Like that these are elected officials that and I heard people in my comments too that were like, well, you elected these people. Okay. But like, yeah. And they suck. But like, also look at our choices every fucking year for president. Look at our choices. Like Lauren Boebert literally was losing her reelection here in Colorado. So she just, because she just moved to a different district. She's just running in a different district where she can win.
Yeah.
Because that's what we've allowed these people to do. We've like, not we as the American people, but like our government can just be like, oh, we're not going to win this election. Well, now I'm running here where I have more supporters so I can win.
Yeah.
So like, what are we supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like, and I don't want to be like a doomsday, oh, woe is us kind of person. But like when the people that we're electing can cheat the system to get reelected, I don't see how that's our fault if we can't do anything about their reelection.
Yeah. Well, the only way you change it at that point is you have to change it from the inside, right? You have to start putting people in those positions. Beep that. Yeah, it's tough.
Oh, I can't say that on podcast. Yeah, no, you're totally right. And yeah, the TikTok thing is crazy, but this also was supposed to lead us into what we were going to talk to, which is death by 1,000 microtransactions, Disney, Apple Prime, all these like additional add-ons. You had some stuff to talk about. I have some stuff to talk about.
That's a whole other topic. I mean, I love the TikTok ban. I love where we're going with this. So I just wanted to like continue, like when this one came up, at first I was like, oh, here we go again. Here, like I was in that camp, because like a lot of people were just like, oh no, they're gonna ban, like the points that you brought up, they're gonna ban it. This is this is revenues for people, for Americans. Like for some people, this is their job. I think what's most interesting and revealing is this time when the ban became relatively unanimous, when it was bipartisan. TikTok didn't have the same response this time, which to me raises the flag. Like first off, there was a security briefing. Some information was presented that we're not allowed to see. So I was like, okay, whatever. That stuff happens all the time. Like, that's just how the world works. Then this ultimatum comes out, and TikTok, instead of being like, no, we don't do any of that stuff that you're talking about, and we shouldn't have to sell it. They were like, well, look at the creators. They were like, you don't care about them? And it's like, I don't think that's what the bill is. So like going back to what I originally said, like I'm paying close attention to what's being said and what's not being said. And I'm not trying to confirm a bias there, but more so just kind of like I'm looking at the government now and TikTok, and I'm like, all right, cool. Let's see what comes out in these statements, what they're saying versus what they're not saying, what direction they're pointing their the points that they're making, right? What direction they're moving in. Because if TikTok isn't coming out and just flat out saying like, oh yeah, we're not spying on you, like in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, we all know how corporations work, and they choose to say, it's like, it's the old CIA adage, right? We can neither confirm nor deny. Like if you say that, you're never wrong. So like just paying attention to that, I'm like, all right, well, TikTok, it's not like TikTok is like the only way that this is ever going to happen either. Like people were making their lives on Vine. Like that's where our first like real big social media stars came from. They were YouTube/Vine people.
Vine led them to being YouTubers.
Yeah, and then they got on YouTube and like started, making revenue off that. And,
capitalized.
Yeah, and obviously, the government doesn't have an issue with YouTube, but like coming back around to where my personal stance on this is anyway, like I don't think it needs to be banned, but I do think that we need to look at social media a little more deeply, and we need to look at the way that these companies are running their business, and we need to, I think eventually an argument is going to be presented about because everyone's well aware of the psychological detriment that being on too much social media has for you. Like, we already accept this, right? And so to me, this follows the same conversation that happened for cigarettes. And I like to use this because at one point in time, everybody was like, cigarettes are great. They calm you down. And like, you should have one. It's a rite of passage to smoke a cigarette with your dad and like all this stuff, right? And then in the 80s and 90s, all of a sudden, like, we were like, oh, no, wait, no, they're not good for you at all. We're doing them too much. We should really limit them. And then it turned into a campaign to just kind of get rid of them because it turned out like there was really no benefit to the tobacco industry. And not only that, they were very seedy and they were trying to get people addicted. And this is the same thing. It's not the same thing, but it's a very similar concept where like these companies want you to be addicted to the thing that you're consuming and have it on at all times and be on it as much as possible and be engaging with ads on it, because that's the other way that they make money is there's ads on it. And like, we can get into the death by 1,000 microtransactions because I have a ton of thoughts on that. And
well, real quick, you mentioned something.
Yeah.
In that I think is really interesting. I met with an SEO expert last week because my new YouTube channel, I wanted to see if there's anything I could do to help it grow since I haven't built one up from scratch in a while. Yeah. So I was like, I wonder if there's anything I'm missing. For
anybody listening who doesn't know what it is, what's SEO?
Search engine optimization.
There it is.
So basically keywords,
where you
tags.
Appear on Google.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it also plays to
YouTube.
social media.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to see if there's anything for YouTube that I was missing out on. And, you know, you mentioned this, and you've mentioned this before off the pod, that, you know, TikTok is designed to keep you on the app. You know, that's
doom
that's
scrolling.
why
People know what it is. They call it doom scrolling. That doesn't sound like a good thing. Like, if you just say it separately from having whatever, like, opinion you have about the app, like, if you just say doom scrolling separately, people are like, that doesn't sound good.
It's because it's not.
Yeah,
and
keep going.
The guy asked me, he was like, hey, you know, at the end of your videos, you know, and obviously I'm using my Odie Matthews channel, which is now retired, as my example. And he was like, well, at the end of your videos, are you just saying like, hey, thanks for watching, see you next time? And I was like, yeah, you know, I'd be like, hey, you know, thanks for all the support. Don't forget to like, subscribe. See you next time. And he was like, that's wrong.
Direct them to
like,
another video on your channel.
He was like, you know, what I do is, you know, I'll be like, and now, you know, video's over, and he'll be like, now if you liked this video, make sure to check out. And he was like, and pick a specific one. He was like, it doesn't matter. You know, it's like once you get more videos on your channel, and it's all this long-winded way to say that even YouTube, I don't think people really realize fully that YouTube is also designed to keep you on there, because even if you don't, like, you watch a video all the way through, and even if you don't click on the one that popped up on the screen or click on one to the side, it's going to automatically play another video based off of what videos you've watched in the past.
Oh, yeah.
And it's crazy. I mean, keeping you on these apps is what they're designed to do.
And much like you have your interaction with TikTok, I have a very similar interaction with social media where, like, I'll be engaged with it for a while, and then I'll kind of reach a point where I'm like, all right, there's not that much for me on there right now. It's not really presenting. Like, I don't make a living on it, so I don't need it. And then I just take breaks. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Delete all the social media apps off my phone, and let's take a break for a while. And it's really nice, actually. It's a refreshing cycle. And going back to what we were talking, I don't do like a goodbye Facebook, I'll see you soon, you know, or like,
so long,
I don't do any of
farewell.
that. Yeah, auf Wiedersehen, good night. I don't do any of that. I'm just like, okay, cool, done for a bit, you know, like, let's deactivate for a minute, like, and I'll get some people who text me and they're like, are you okay? And it's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm good.
Fine. I'm just taking a break.
Just taking a little break. But you know what I realized was, instead of deactivating, one thing that's better that I can do is I can just delete the apps off my phone, because that's really I don't engage with them on my laptop. I just don't.
Who does?
Yeah, exactly. That's a very outdated way to do it. All right, so you brought up YouTube, and this is something I noticed. Maybe I just have an eye for this. I don't know where it comes from. Like, maybe it's because I actually learned enough taking the psychology courses that I had to take in college, or whatever it is. But, like, when people started directing people to the other videos on their channel, I was like, oh, that's smart. Like immediately I was like, oh yeah, that's smart. Like I don't click on them because I wanted to watch this video. I don't want to watch the next video. I have a limited amount of time to engage with you. But Grand Line Review, who talks about One Piece and like is kind of my way of catching up with One Piece without having to watch 1,000 episodes, they do the same thing. They'll be like, if you liked this video about Luffy versus Zoro or whatever it is, like, why don't you check out this one that we had on whatever. And like, it's just keeping people on your channel so you can optimize the income that you're making off of it. And one thing that's really fucking killing me, and part of the reason that I'm getting further and further away from YouTube, is now YouTube makes you pay to not have ads, right?
Mm-hmm. YouTube Premium.
And then, even though you're paying to not have ads, the fucking content creators that you subscribe to get paid by other companies to do fucking ads. So it's not like you actually don't have ads, which to me, like the whole allure of watching content creators or like getting into like getting onto Spotify, getting onto any of these apps, right, was okay, cool, no ads. There's too many ads. We got to a point in the early 2000s where like shows were 20 minutes long and you had 10 minutes of commercials every single episode, right? So for every half hour you had 10 minutes of advertisements. And I get it. This is how things are paid for. That doesn't like that's fine. You can make that point all day. I'm just going to go, okay, cool, but I'm going to engage with it less because of the ads. Because I don't want that. Like, I want the material that I wanted. I want the entertainment that I wanted. Luckily for me, my books don't have ads in the middle of them. I mean, they might mention some products here and there, but I don't think like any of these products are sponsoring the books. But
speaking of ads,
I'm also
if you go to Western Rise right now and use discount code Odie, you can get 15% off your entire Western Rise order. Some wonderful clothing to help you with your travel, everyday work, and environment. Let's do a little sponsorship.
I know you have a sponsorship.
I do. I get sponsored.
That's fine. I'm not going to stop you. I'm just going to sit here unflappable. This is why we're not going to succeed as a brand.
And for our second ad placement.
Dude, and that's the other thing is like there's 2 ad placements from every content creator, and then you have to pay to not have the regular ads. But if you don't pay for it, you just got the regular ads going, right? And the one like so when I try to engage with something on YouTube, what I typically end up doing is I use that little trick where I can close my phone and just like let it play, and then I just zone out on the ads anyway. I'm not paying attention to them. You know?
Yeah.
And like same thing on Spotify. Like, and you know my reaction to ads on TikTok and stuff like that. Yeah. I think it's only getting worse. And so let's shift a little bit. This is probably going to be a shorter conversation, but like, ultimately, I looked this up and I calculated how much it would cost to stream everything with ads.
I saw this on our shared notes.
Yeah, and how much it would cost to stream everything without ads, right? And roughly, this is a rough calculation. I didn't like get down to the penny on it. I'm not getting paid by the New York Times to do this shit. But
darn.
Yeah. But I was
go to New York Times and use discount code UNPOP for a free subscription.
So I was like, all right, what would it cost to stream everything you want to stream with ads? $61 a month.
Now that's just music,
or
is horrible.
That? No, that's Disney.
With
Prime,
ads,
Apple
ads.
TV.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so adding up
is that all
of
them?
Yes,
that's Peacock, Paramount, HBO, Crunchyroll.
I didn't include Peacock and Paramount because those are typically featured on other things like Prime and stuff. Yeah, well, and they're smaller streaming services embedded within a streaming service, so I don't really count them. But if you wanted to add those as well, I would just assume add another $20, right? So
probably.
like 81 roughly. But then to stream without ads, it's going to cost you $104 a month. Now, this is on top of paying for the internet. And to go back to the point that I just made, you don't not get ads on some of these services. You still get ads. And the services don't count ads for things that are on their own service as advertisements. So you'll start up a thing and you'll still get an ad for another thing on that streaming service, much like YouTube video content creators are pointing to their other YouTube videos and telling you to go to those. So going back to what I was originally saying, if you're not paying to stream without ads, you're going to end up watching an ad at the beginning of your video. There's probably going to be 1 or 2 product placements during your content creator's video or whatever it is. There's going to be another ad somewhere in the middle of it. And then at the end, there's an advertisement to stay on the channel that you're on. So you end up having all of these ads embedded into your experience. And what that does is that just primes you to engage with advertisements more and more. Like it normalizes them in a way that I think as far as consuming entertainment goes is unhealthy. You know, like I think it's very unhealthy, the amount of ads that you're subjected to and how we become kind of numb to that information, like mere exposure effect. But at the same time, how much of that time that we're trying to engage with something is taken up by advertisements. Like imagine if you went to a live performance of something and in the middle of it, like 3 different times, like someone came out on stage and they're like, did you know that Factor meals are going to be cheaper for you than going to the grocery store? Yeah. Like in the middle of like fucking Shakespeare or something. Like imagine someone just walking out on stage and being like, oh my God, have you tried this new Casper mattress? Flop. Like just plopping it down and like laying down for like 30 seconds and being like, it's so soft. It's better technology than the rest of the sleep mattresses. Like, yeah,
but okay, since you're talking about the streaming service with ads, there is something that this is kind of what I wanted. This is one of the first points that I wanted to bring up about this. Yeah. Have you seen or have you watched the show Invincible on Amazon Prime?
Yeah.
Okay. Great show, right? I've read the comic book. Great comic book. Yeah. Great run. Great voice cast. Now, when season 2 was announced, it was announced that it was going to come out in 2 parts, right?
Yes.
First part came out in November of 2023. Second part just dropped a couple days ago, actually, at the time of recording. Now, this is an 8-episode show that has anywhere from 40-ish minute to an hour-long episodes, right?
Yes.
Now, what is something that Amazon Prime did not have when the first 4 episodes came out in November?
Ads.
Now, what does Amazon Prime have now with the second part coming out a couple days ago?
Ads.
So I don't know. This might make me sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I love that show. I love the voice cast. J.K. Simmons is one of my favorite people. He's just incredible. I love his voice.
Yeah, he does a great job.
And I was thinking about it, and there was a 2-year gap from season 1 to season 2, and they said, the creators of the show and like the animators and stuff said, oh, well, like in that little gap between the first part of season 2 and the second part, we're working on season 3, so there won't be that long of a gap, right?
Yeah.
But my question is, if all 8 episodes were done, because they said all of them were done, they were just splitting it up for some reason.
Yeah.
Couldn't you have worked on the season 3 if you had dropped all 8 episodes back in November? That time between November and now, you still could have worked on it. But funny enough, Invincible with The Boys and Gen V and a couple other shows on Prime are the biggest shows on this streaming service.
The Boys is definitely the biggest, yeah.
And now they just happen to split up one of the biggest shows on it into 2 parts so that when the second part comes out, it'll now have ads. I'm sorry, that's too much of a coincidence. I think Amazon did this on purpose. I think they knew what they were doing. And I think that this is, when people start to realize this stuff, I'm hoping these streaming services will feel a little bit of a hit. I really do.
Just more and more, this is how this goes. Like, and the term, I used it last week, but the term late stage capitalism is super prevalent because this is indicative of late stage capitalism. What does that mean? It means that capitalism is reaching the end of its life cycle. That's what that means. And does it mean that it's going away forever? No. Does it mean that there's going to be some crazy communist revolution? No. It just means that as a form of economics, capitalism will either have to adapt and shift into a new form of itself, or it will fail inevitably. It inevitably fails on a long enough timeline. That's just how that works. It's like saying the inevitable heat death of the universe. You know, that's just further off. Sun's gonna
explode.
That's just further off. You know, like late stage capitalism is where we're at now. How long we can exist in it, I'm not 100% sure. I haven't dug into that too much, but I'm definitely interested, and I've got a couple books that I'm going to buy on it. But you know, to round out this conversation, like then I brought up so in the notes you can also see I looked up, okay, well then how much does it cost to stream different on different music services, and roughly every single one has an ad version for like $6 to $11, right? 11 seems to be the common one. Amazon, it's 6, but Amazon, they're typically roping you into buy Prime, which is like $15 a month anyway. So like you're paying 15 and then you add on the 6, which is like you're at 21, right? And then you add on the remaining 11, so you're at $32 a month for your Amazon account basically. But that's to have ad-free music streaming. Spotify is 11 to 17, Apple Music is 11 to 17, Tidal is 11 to 30, which is
YouTube
insane.
Music is
to
20
me. And
for two people.
YouTube Music is 20, and now they're not allowing you to do as much password sharing as we used to do. Like all of the things that made these appealing are slowly going away, right? And what's coming up in its place are these little forms of microtransactions to get people to pay to have the service that they previously had. Like we already had that service, and you're like, we're going to take it away unless you pay more. And it's like, fuck off. Like that's the thing that really gets me about it. And what's got me sort of leaning further and further away from consuming as much media as I was, like I've read more books this year, and I've been digging into manga and like getting these sources of entertainment and information that don't have ads in them. Yeah. Did they take longer? Sure. But am I remembering more? Also sure. Like
Definitely.
And so the pros and cons, like there's almost, and it does seem a little bit archaic, and like I said, it's slower. And I think generally, going back to Idiocracy, I think reading is kind of like, it's looked at as like an inefficient form of consumption at this point by a lot of people who I can't tell you how many people are like, oh, I don't really read books. I listen to them. I only listen to them. And I'm like, that's cool. I also listen to books, but I'm going to fucking read too, because you have to engage that language center in your brain. And I'm not going to get too far into that. We can have a different psychological conversation about engaging centers of your brain on another episode. But I'm keenly interested in how we engage different centers of our brain based on the behaviors that we have set up in our week to week. I mean, you know me, like I'm a very disciplined person. I'm eating roughly the same thing. I'm prepping myself for different things, and that's what keeps me effective, functional, efficient. But like going back to these microtransactions, like what we were really talking about. I mean, we made a joke, Disney Apple Prime, right? That was like that's our giant conglomerate, but that's becoming a real thing. Because they're all buying up the different, like if a streaming service fails, it gets bought up by the other ones, right? Or rather, its catalog gets bought up. They control what's on it at any given moment. They control how many ads you see at any given moment. And it's just like, it's like a worse version of what we had before with cable bundling.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
No,
yeah.
So
far, there's no positive like shift. Unfortunately, there's no direction that we can mention that's like, but good news on the horizon. There's
that's actually something that I want to talk about. So you mentioned microtransactions for upgrading streaming services, but there are two things that have come up in the past couple weeks that I want to bring up, and one of them is Tesla. So the Cybertruck, in all its wonderful failure, it's out. Some people got it. It looks terrible. It seems to be terrible.
Yeah,
but
it looks
one
horrible.
of the things. So actually, real quick, I got to say this. The mall here in Denver, really large mall. We have my job has a kiosk there, and it falls under my department of marketing. So sometimes I have to go there and like give them marketing supplies and like make sure everything's going okay. And there's a Tesla showroom in this mall, and so I got to see a Cybertruck up close. And if you thought they looked dumb in the photos and the videos, they look super stupid in person. Yeah, like it's almost like it feels like Tesla's
aerodynamically efficient. Is that why they look dumb?
I don't know, honestly. But what I do know,
I want to know why.
Because they thought it would look cool.
If there's a good why, like if it turns out that like they have infinitely less air friction than other vehicles going head on, like cool. I'm in.
Yeah, but they don't have a crumple zone, so it wouldn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yeah, dude.
Gross.
So they sold the Tesla truck on, I remember the promotional materials, besides the fact that they broke the glass that was supposed to be like,
That was
Unbreakable.
hilarious.
Still funny.
That was one of the best failures ever. Like Elon, he's just like, go ahead, throw the ball, and the ball hits the and it just broke. I was like, wow, science at its best,
Nice.
right here in
Good
person.
job.
Well, first off, it's a failure. Second off, that is how you do science. Like, that is the ugly side of science that we don't see. For
just
every
maybe don't do it in front of a group of
thing
people
that gets invented, there's like 1,000 failures, you know? So,
Yeah,
like, I thought that
totally.
was cool. Like, I was like, oh, science, right in person. We got to see it. But at the same time, maybe, like, don't prelude what happens with, like, it's unbreakable. Like,
don't do it in a showcase event.
Say, we've hypothesized it's unbreakable. Let's test it. Right?
Yeah.
That's
And
what that really
so,
was.
Really. And so I remember the promotional materials was like, it can tow more than Ford, and it can outperform Dodge, and it's better than a Chevy and everything.
Okay.
And what's funny is some of the first people that have gotten it have said that they wanted to take it like off-roading and do things that, you know, it was advertised to do, but you can't lock the differentials. And there's a touch screen, and you go to lock the diffs, and it says, even though the software is technically installed in this truck and it does have the capability to do it, they won't let you, because in the near to distant future, Tesla's going to release a package that you can then purchase to allow you.
Package.
Yep, it's literally,
Okay.
I think that's what they even called it, an off-roading package, so that then when you purchase that, you can then access that feature.
Okay. Hold up.
That is part one.
This is not very different from the car industry, because if you want to do that with a truck efficiently, you buy the truck version that has the off-roading package in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, that being said, not far off from where we are already anyway.
But when you buy it, you can use it, though.
I get that this falls into the microtransaction realm, but that already exists in the auto industry, where it's like, do you want the sport package or the luxury package? Or do you want the sport luxury package? Or do you want the sport luxury energy efficient OnStar whatever package? You know, like there's all these different packages that you can get for your car, and it's like, well, couldn't you have like just made the best product possible, and then I'd be happy to pay for that? And
well, that's the thing, though,
anyway.
right? Like, when you buy a truck and you're like, oh, I got the 4x4 Trail Mountain Climber Dragon Destroyer Edition.
Yeah. Like,
right? You
limited
can already.
edition Harley Davidson paint job. Yeah.
I got alligator skin seats and buffalo tires. But
yeah,
like,
or your fucking Lexus SLXE5, whatever.
yeah,
you know?
right?
Yeah.
But my point is that, like, when you buy an off-roading vehicle from Ford and you go to put it in four-wheel drive, you don't get a message that goes, hey, you need to purchase this additional thing.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, with the Cybertruck, is all of those features and packages were not only advertised for it, but the truck already can do it. But Tesla's just like, they're losing money, so they're like, well, we're going to make you pay for something you already should have.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, that's
So that is part
that's like
one.
the streaming services.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and then that leads me into the second one. So if you've been to Walmart recently, and even Target to some extent, you might start to see that some of the self-checkouts are closing, or you can't use them anymore. Like, my Walmart actually only has, and I went last night because I wanted to count, and I also wanted a bag of chips.
Yeah.
And it's also in front of my dispensary, but that's beside the point. But we have at my Walmart, Super Walmart, there are 10 regular checkout lanes that would be like worked by humans.
Yeah.
There are 2 little self-checkout, like, what, I don't know, like what you'd call them, like squares. You know, like how they have like the square blocked off for like probably 12
sections.
Yeah, there's one on one entrance and one on the other. There's 12 in each one, so that's 24.
Yep.
And then in between, like leading into the middle section of the checkout aisles where the humans are, there are 6 of like the human style checkout lanes that you can use for self-checkout. They're like longer conveyor belts, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So my Walmart only has 10 regular checkout aisles. And even before they started to close the self-checkouts, only like 1 or 2 of them were open at a time. Most people use self-checkout.
Yeah.
Well, now they have closed off every single self-checkout except for the 10 that are manned by people. And the Walmart that is across the street from my office that I sometimes have to go over and get stuff for
Wait,
work.
Hold on. You said they've closed off every self-checkout except for the ones manned by people.
Oh, sorry. They've closed all the self-checkouts. All that's open is the human checkout aisles.
Okay, so
no self-checkouts,
so
period.
Classic
Yeah, I said that
checkout.
weird.
Let's call them classic checkout.
Classic checkout.
Okay.
And then the Walmart that's even bigger by my work has done the same thing, right?
Okay, so all you have are classic checkouts.
Classic checkouts is all you got. Now, I was curious what was going on with this, and I saw an article that Walmart, this isn't confirmed, but they are toying with the idea that in order to use self-checkout, you would basically, hang on to your seats for this one, folks. You would pay for a monthly subscription service that would give you like a card or a pass or a membership of sorts to Walmart. And when you have that membership ID or card, you could go through self-checkout and scan it, and it would allow you to use self-checkout. So basically, you'd be paying more for a more convenient checkout if that's what you want.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun that our microtransactions has entered the real world? Like,
so self-checkouts came out, and once again, I had a very similar reaction. I was like, you're selling our capitalism back to us. Got it. We're going to have to put in the effort now.
We do all the shopping.
We
do all the checkout.
You're not providing me the experience that I once was paying for. I was paying for the experience of having someone check that out for me. That also, like that was kind of a security thing. But now what you have, and I just went to the New Market 32 the other day, and there's just some dude standing by the self-checkout, make it like he's ready, like just in case anything goes wrong at self-checkout. But almost everybody's at self-checkout. And like when I'm doing a smaller purchase, I want to go through self-checkout. But like I've straight up walked up to self-checkout at Target and Walmart and Market 32. I fucking hate Walmart, but like I've gone to the self-checkout there, and there's people with full carts of groceries.
Oh, I hate that.
And I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? But I get it, because like there's not enough lanes open with people for them to then like they don't want to wait in line. So
it's
they'd rather
just for them that way.
They'd hop into the lane that's most available, which for them at that moment was self-checkout. So like you can't hate them for that. They just found the lane that was available. Just sucks that it's, in front of you. But like,
I know.
but like self-checkouts, as they become more and more prolific in the shopping realm, like it's self-checkout and then there's also like you can pay. Do you pay extra to have them pick out your groceries in the store? Like purchasing online, is there a fee for that?
So I know
I don't know, because I don't buy my groceries. I don't have people deliver groceries to me a lot.
I know that so I don't really go to Walmart that much. I use our King Supers, which is part of the mega supermarket chain. It's owned by the people that own Kroger, Star, Smith's. Like they own a ton of chains. They're just like all over the country. They have different little versions of it. Yeah. And I know that when I go on the King Super app, because what I do is I'll do like an order, like I'm going to have them go get the groceries and pick it out. Like I'll do like a little cart, and then it'll tell you what aisle it's on. So then when we go to the grocery store, I'll use that as my grocery list, and I just delete them from the cart as I put them in my physical cart. Big brain move. But what I have noticed is when I do pick up for groceries at King's, I'll put everything in my cart, and it'll give you an estimated total at the bottom. And so what I did this last time is I checked the receipt against what the estimated total was. Yeah. And they actually do hike up their prices if you have them delivered or if you do grocery pickup. They hike up the prices from anywhere from 19 cents to $1.29 at King's.
Which makes sense because you're paying for a person to get it for you. But ultimately, like, I'm looking at these two options and how they're becoming more prevalent, right, in our day-to-day lives. And I'm like, we're just going to start paying more and more for groceries. Like, this is just how this is. And not only that, the one thing that really gets me about the self-checkout lane, like I said, if you're doing a small purchase, makes sense, right? Why not? Like, if you're just grabbing a couple things, like that, to me, that's optimal use of self-checkout. But everything else, the reason I come to the store is because I'm going to pick out my things. I'm going to have someone check me out. They're going to tell me what it is, and then I'm out, right? And, like, maybe I'm a fucking dinosaur. Maybe this is just the way of the future, and everyone's fine with self-checkout. But I don't like the idea of a store similar to the video services taking a service that was readily available to me and making it more scarce and then going, you're going to have to put in the extra effort of checking yourself out now. Like,
I mean, I totally agree. I only go through classic checkouts pretty much at the grocery store, like when I have a full cart worth of stuff. Because, like, if I'm running into Walmart and I want to grab my favorite snack of all time, peanut M&Ms. I'm literally addicted to these things. I ate so many a couple weeks ago that I threw up. Like,
gross.
I cannot stop myself.
I don't know why you did that.
Yeah, me either. Never again. But like,
don't do that.
if I'm gonna run to the store and just grab like 2 or 3 things from Walmart, like I want to go through self-checkout. Like I want to quickly ding ding ding, I'm out, right? But like I'm with you. If I have a full cart, like I don't want to ring every single one up and then have to pause halfway through because the self-checkouts are small and then bag them, put the bag in my cart, and then it goes, your bag isn't in the area for bagging, and then you have to go, I don't want to bag this. It's just a fucking nightmare, dude. Like I hate self-checkout is not fun if you have more than like 10 items.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, like I move faster than the self-checkout scanner thing does, so like I'm going so, like, and especially at Market 32 it's like, welcome to and like then I press the fucking thing and then it's like giving me an explanation. I scan my first item and I put it down on the thing, and then I go to scan my next item and I've done it too quickly, so now I have to wait, and it's like, please put your item in the bagging area, and I'm like, fuck you, it's already there, and then I have to wait because it lags 2 seconds, and then
an attendant starts to flash, and then
and then I'm like, all right, next item, 2 seconds. I'm like, I could be done with, like, if you had given me a more efficient, if it was more efficient, I'd like it more. Like, but then, like, the real point that I want to get back to is, like, I value human interaction. And so in these cases, especially in the real world cases like Walmart, things like that, I want that human interaction. I want that to be part of my experience. I don't want that to feel artisanal or archaic. I want like to actually ask another human questions like, how's your day? Things like that. Like that's vital. And as we go into this world of like self-checkout, fucking everything being fed to you at all times, algorithms just giving you the things that you want, like there's less and less human interaction on that. And I think that's something that's going to change. But over time, culturally, it shifts things. But if it shifts enough and becomes prevalent enough, it changes the way that our brains are shaped over time. And this is just scientific fact. The way that we interact and the behaviors and patterns that we instill in ourselves change the way that our brains function. Like the mapping of them shifts around this. It's happened multiple times. The literary revolution is just the perfect example of that. Our brains changed when all of a sudden reading was more available for everybody. Literacy became a component of human society, right? It wasn't just the spoken language back and forth. Now we had the written word. And that's a huge step in the right direction. And now, like, it almost feels like we're stepping in the wrong direction. Like we're removing
one direction,
different forms. It is. Hairstyles. All right. We're removing these these forms of what I would call social or interactive or communal literacy, right? I don't know exactly how to label it. I'm not licensed or esteemed social scientist, but I do understand patterns, and I do understand society to the point where I feel like I can confidently say the shift that will happen I don't see as being necessarily a positive one, because like on a more even more general, like extrapolating this out further and making it more general, the more efficient you make things, the more you strip away some of the core human elements of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think that's the problem. Like, you mentioned it, and I think I wrote it down. I was looking at my notes real quick. I understand that there are people out there that are like, I only want to use self-checkout because my anxiety, my social anxiety, like, I don't want to interact with people because, maybe they're just an antsy person. Maybe, interacting with people that they don't know on any kind of surface level it stresses them out. I get that. And I know people like that in my personal life, and like, I totally respect it, and I get it. And as somebody who I try to lie to myself, and I try to say things like, oh, I'm an introverted extrovert, or I'm an extroverted I'm just an extrovert. Like, I literally, Kevin, I'm not, I should have told this story yesterday. I went to the Dollar Tree because that's where I get my cleaning supplies, because like, why not? And this lady was looking at soap, and she was a little bit older. She's probably 60s, 70s. And she asked me if I could read something on the bottle for her. Yeah. This turned into around a 10 to 15 minute conversation about gardening. And I was loving, and Goose walked out and went to the car and was like, I'm just going to wait for you there.
Yeah.
So all this is just to say that, like, I think that the human experience is very important. I really, like, one of my favorite places to go is my dispensary. Like, sometimes I'll go and I only get one thing just so I have a reason to go back a couple days later, because everybody that works there, I now know. They've all either been my bud tender, they've all checked me in, they know me by name. That I literally walk in, they're like, Odie, and I'm like, what's up, Michael? Like, Michael's my favorite bud tender. Shout out, Michael, if you're listening. But, like, I think that is important, and I think you're correct. Like, the further we've strayed away from that, the more we find ourselves circling back to it.
Yeah. Well, and
I love it.
Like, ultimately, you know, like, in my mind, like, you're like, yeah, some people are, they're anti-person. It's like, all right, well, you can't be anti-person because you exist in society. So we have to make steps in a positive direction. Like, but the only way to solve a lot of these issues is through human interaction. And, like, if you have anxiety around mass groups of people, there's different ways that you can go about it. But ultimately, the only way that you ever overcome any form of social anxiety in a meaningful sense is by facing that fear. It's a fear. It's anxiety, right? And it's fear-based. And I think ultimately, like, the only way to really improve over time is to have opportunity for human interaction and to prove to yourself that it's not something that's anxiety worthy, right? But you're not going to give yourself that opportunity the further and further we get away from interacting with humans, and the further and further we get away from, like, having those abilities to, like, or having those services available to us, or having that be a component of our day-to-day life. The more compartmentalized things become, the easier it becomes to just accept, like, the extra ads and the things that you have to pay for, and to stop paying attention to them because it was handed to you, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
and it all comes back to, we all clicked the agree button for iTunes back in the day, and we clicked it too many times, and the terms and service, we didn't pay enough attention, and now the terms of service have changed too much, and we have to go back in time, and we have to stop it. We have to stop ourselves and say, no, don't click OK on that.
That's going to be a future movie.
It's not okay.
Like, somebody goes back in time to stop the terms and service agreement. Skynet. That's how Skynet started.
Oh my God. All right, what's your jam this week?
Yeah, that's a good spot to move into that.
Yeah, let's wrap this up. Final thought. Things are moving away from human interaction. The algorithm's actually not a wonderful thing, and it should be regulated. We should be paying attention to how it's interacting and how we're interacting with it. And the only way, let me wrap this up by saying, the only way that you can change the way that you interact with, the algorithm, just different things that are being presented and changes that are happening, is by changing the way, like, you have control over your interaction with it. You don't have control over them in general right now. So, like, ultimately, if you want less ads, just engage in a form of media that has less ads. Like, and that sounds derivative in nature, but that's the only option. I'm sorry. There's not or, and we can come back around to this. We all get back on the high seas, baby. We all get VPNs and we hop on Pirate Bay, and we're downloading the shit that we want, and we wait for it, right? And that's it. That's like, I mean, that's the other solution, right? We can go back to the old classic 2000s model of, do I want this in 720K or 1080K, because I'm going to download the whole thing and it's going to take hours.
Yeah. I mean, some people might already do that.
I mean,
but
yeah.
My final thought. My final thought about all of this is, honestly, just kind of fuck Elon Musk. That's just kind of my thought. I don't know why, but, like, he just, I don't like him, and that's my final thought. He's ruining
it all. All right, cool.
Yeah, I mean, not that Twitter was ever a great place in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been trying to figure out what my jam was going to be. So I want to say that with the start of my new YouTube channel, Magnum Nopus, check it out. The whole point of that is to watch movies that are inherently bad to see if there's any redeeming qualities. And I will admit, there are a couple movies that I've watched. I've been watching a lot this weekend, preparing some videos.
Yeah.
And I watched a couple that were redeemable in some ways, but it's hard to suggest those as a jam when, like, they're not great. So I'm going to suggest something that I love quite a lot, and it's very near and dear to me.
Okay.
And that is the movie The Meg. Look, I know,
Oh my God.
and I know Kevin just rolled his eyes, shook his head. I get it. Look, here's the thing. I want to say this before you say
love
anything.
Jason Statham.
I do love Jason Statham, but he's my favorite. I want to say that
I'm gonna stab this shark.
It's a megalodon.
I gotta go get it. It's a megalodon.
But, okay, now listen. Here's the thing. I'm gonna walk on the floor of the ocean and get this Meg. That's the second one. I understand that the Meg is dumb. All right, it comes from the director who made both the National Treasure movies. Yeah. It's a dumb premise. It's a giant shark. It's Jaws, but for dummies, right? But I want to say that if you're the kind of person that like you're okay with the plot being messy and the dialogue not always being the best and like some comedic moments and just really are just a fan of people acknowledging
Jason Statham.
But also if you're a fan of like movies that acknowledge that they're dumb and they realize and they play into the fact that they're dumb, which is what the Meg does. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but it does. I think you can find a way to enjoy me either. But I think you can find a way to enjoy this movie. But if you can't, my other jam is the movie The Crow from 1994 with Brandon Lee. I had never seen this movie before.
It's a classic.
All I knew about this movie was that unfortunately Brandon Lee died on set from a prop gun. Gunshot wound from a prop gun. Yep. And I knew that the director of this movie went on to direct a movie I'm going to be covering on my YouTube channel called Gods of Egypt. What a movie. I've only seen it once. I don't remember a lot. But The Crow is getting a remake with Bill Skarsgård.
Yes.
I'm interested. But what I really love about the original Crow, and I want to say minor spoilers, I guess, if you haven't seen this movie. Like I said, I'd never seen it before. I don't know why, but it never really reached my list. What I really appreciated about this Crow movie and what I'm worried about with the remake is this movie literally opens with, like, they're already dead. Like, there is no, here's what life was like before. Like, it opens with the main character, Eric, is dead and his girlfriend's on the way to the hospital. Like, there is no, here's what it was like before they were dead. Here's them in love. And this new one, very much from the trailer, seems to be like, here's what they were like before this incident. Yeah. And I respected the fact that the original Crow was like, all right, this world sucks. Whatever city we're in, people here suck. This night sucks.
It's about to be Devil's Night.
Yeah, right? And then there's, like, narration from a little girl that, like, basically tells you, hey, like, crows can bring people back from the dead if there's, like, unfinished business, and they can finish their business. And then
that's it.
And then he comes back, and then it's literally just like, okay, well, I'm going to kill you, 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 and then I'm going to kill you, and then I'm done. Okay, well, time to go back to being dead. And, like,
that's it.
It is probably becoming, like, damn, I really love this movie.
Yeah,
like, it's
really
so good. It's so good. And it makes me excited
edgy.
For the new one.
It's like this is I think this is where like the gloomy edge boy really came from. Like this is part of the origin of it. It's like I'm so dark and I just gotta finish my business and then I'm gonna go back to the dead.
You know what my favorite part about this movie is? And it just reminds me of
the
movie making.
The action sequences are amazing.
The action sequences are incredible for 1994
because they're all practical.
What I miss so...
They didn't have CGI the way that we have it. Like
they did wire work.
They had to actually do action scenes.
Yeah, there's not a lot of CGI in that movie. There's no special effects.
No, it's from the 90s,
I just realized that.
Yeah.
Well, but that's why I love movies like Batman 89, RoboCop, The Crow. What I miss about...
practical effects are amazing.
Well, not just the practical effects, but like I miss when it used to be like a landscape shot of the city and it was a matte painting that was then like used kind of like minimal special effects to make it look like the setting. Yeah. I love the gothic matte painting style to set the backdrop of a city. There's a shot in this movie where it pulls out of a window and as it zooms out, it very clearly becomes a painting. Yeah. But like, I don't know why, but for some reason, like that is way more visually appealing to me than like a almost realistic CGI landscape.
CGI, yeah.
But like, anyway, sorry, I'm talking about this quite a bit, but like it was such a good movie that I was kind of blown away with how much it holds up almost 30 years later.
Yeah.
This movie is my age. This movie came out almost on my birthday. Like in 1994, the day I was born, this movie almost came out.
I watched the trailer for the new one, and I was really pumped to watch it, and then it gave away too much information about the movie, like from the get-go. Like it was the trailer was way longer than I thought it was going to be. I was like, all right, cool. That looks pretty. Oh, there's more. Like, oh, you're going to show me more of this movie already. Yeah. I
really wish it hadn't.
I hate that movies.
I wish
like
I hadn't
mini
watched
movie
it
for a trailer. Like whenever a movie does a mini movie for a trailer, I hate it.
I will say though that the new Crow does look like it has potential.
It looks alright.
It looks like it could be
It looks fine. It looks fine. And I'm not poo-pooing things. Like if something looks fine, it looks fine. Like it's not like I'm not gonna like leave it and be like that was the worst. Like I'm not
I like Bill Skarsgård.
Trashing things. Yeah, like if the acting's good, the acting's good. If the story was good, the story's good. But like
he's great.
Ultimately,
so
there are so many things that in trailers now just look fine. Like they look passable. Which what a low bar to have. That's why like Dune. That's why Dune 2 is like such an amazing experience because it was actually an experience. Like in a world of like second screen entertainment and all of like just BS coming out every week where it's like, yeah, that was pretty good, but we didn't like we didn't like X, Y, and Z about it. Like Dune was like, wow, this was all very good. Thank you.
So good.
Yeah.
What's your jam?
My jam this week, I got a couple. Natalie Carr's new single "Cowboy" came out.
Cowboy, it's so good,
yep,
dude. I saw her. Yeah,
we love her. She's amazing.
Friend of the show.
Yep, she's great. And then I messaged her about it, and so when I interviewed her, I told her like we established that we would ask each other what we're grateful for at least on a weekly basis, and we have actually kept that up. Which has been really great. Yeah, it's been like a nice little check-in. Like there's not a ton of extra conversation. We're just like, hey, what are you grateful for this week? What are you grateful for? Like it's been really cool, and I really appreciate how our friendship
Cowboy
has
is a
developed
bop.
over time. And Cowboy's amazing. Yeah, she's stepping into her own, and I think she's being, just like she said when I was talking to her about this year and what she's doing, I think she's being more brave with her choices of how she's approaching different genres, how she's approaching her own music and her lyric writing. I think it's really, really good.
And that is a really, I will say, like, I've actually never talked to Natalie Carr because obviously you interviewed her. I didn't. She's a friend of the show. But I hope I get a chance to actually talk to her at some point because
she's great.
I wasn't really sure, but when you interviewed her, I listened to her music, and then the Cowboy popped up on her Instagram, and I was like, oh, let me listen to the whole song, and I was like, damn,
she's good. Yeah,
it's good. She's good. She's great.
She's solid. That is my jam. And then I started watching Ricky Stenicki the other day.
I want to watch
which
that.
Is
I love Zac Efron.
The imaginary friend that they're blaming on things.
John Cena.
First off, they go to Albany first thing in the movie. Like, why the fuck? Here's the this, and this has been happening more and more, and I love that this is just happening in movies. Like, people are just going to the Avengers have a base in upstate New York. In Mr. Robot, they go to upstate New York to go to a server farm. And yeah, cool. We do have an IBM center up here, and we have Global Foundries, and we do have some tech stuff in this area, and we have a microchip plant, we have the capital of New York. But it's just really funny how more frequently people are like, "We're going to Albany." I'm like, the fuck? Anybody from around here is like, what the fuck are you going to Albany for? We leave Albany to go to stuff. What was going on in Albany that you needed to be there? But then the next scene that they shot, I'm like, oh, they're at Rivers Casino. They're in Schenectady. They're not even in Albany right now. But
of course not.
But no, it's actually really good. John Cena's playing a really funny character. It's so funny to see him. He's obviously older now. He looks very different than he looked forever ago, but he still has that big power lifter bodybuilder head, and his biceps are bigger than everybody else. It makes him, he almost he has this he almost has this appearance because his acting is good, he belongs in the scene, and he's very believable, but he almost has this appearance that's unbelievable. If you saw him with these other people, you'd be like, dude, what? Who's this random dude that showed up with you guys that obviously doesn't fit the normal mode of your existence here? Really solid. I was definitely digging the beginning. That's part of what I was doing yesterday to try to get back out of my funk. I was like, because we were recording, I was like, dude, I'm just not feeling it. I don't know what's going on. I went to sparring, and like even that, like somebody was like, Kev, how you feeling? I was like, I'm kind of off today. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Like, and it took literally a whole day of like just going through. I even went for like a 5-mile run after that, and like I kept like coming back, and like each time I felt like a little better, but wasn't 100% there. And then finally this morning I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. But Ricky Stanicki, solid. Natalie Carr, Cowboy, solid. That's it, baby. That's all we got this week. We're just running it through. We're dying to 1,000 microtransactions. We got to go scan our own shit after we pick it out at the store, unless we're paying extra to get it delivered to us. You know, like this is just welcome to the future. It's here already. It's just going to continue developing that way unless we stop it. We got to go back and stop the terms of agreement. That's what it is.
It's going to be the next Terminator movie.
I'm here to stop the terms of agreement. I'm the Terminator. Your terms are not acceptable to me.
I'm the terms of service-inator.
I'm the terms-inator.
Terms-inator.
The terms-inator's going to be here. I'm coming for you. Where's Steve Jobs? I'm just coming for Steve Jobs.
I must have Steve Jobs.
That movie would end with someone, and remember how it would end with like someone inevitably doing it again anyway.
No, it ends with the Terminator giving Steve Jobs his cancer.